joined now by Eddie Garcia, host of NHL Game Night for Locked On Podcast Network. Eddie, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good. Excited to get another postseason of Stanley Cup playoff action going soon.
There's that golden voice, Eddie. I'm curious. Is the most entertaining series potentially for you the most competitive series for you, or are those two different series?
I mean, for me, yeah. I'm looking at what is the most compelling matchup as far as what's the best matchup? What are the top two teams that are going head to head? And it's a little bit different, as you know, in the NHL playoffs with the format. You've got the potential Stanley Cup winners going at it in the first round in a couple of different playoff series. So if you're asking me which one is the series that is must watch TV for hockey fans or for sports fans, to me, there's no question it's Lightning Panthers. 3 of the last 5 Cup winners going head to head, rivals. They met last year in the playoffs, and either one of these teams are legitimate Stanley Cup champion caliber teams. And because of the playoff format, they're meeting in the first round, and that you can certainly debate whether that's a good thing or not. But like I said, to me, there's no question Lightning Panthers is the playoff matchup, first round playoff matchup, definitely to watch.
I thought you may go with the Stars and the Avs from an entertainment standpoint because, I mean, the skill and the talent level. I am a little surprised the Avs are such a, I wouldn't say heavy favorite. I think they're minus 160. But from an entertainment standpoint, did the Avalanche and the Stars at least get in that discussion?
Absolutely. And about a month ago, I probably would have picked that game as the game to watch. Unfortunately for the Dallas Stars, they have looked terrible.
Yeah. And they were my Stanley Cup pick. They were my winner when the season started too, so I'm pretty disappointed.
But you're in good company then, or bad company, because they were so was I. They were my preseason pick. And at the trade deadline, I kind of reaffirmed that was my pick. So I don't know if this is the curse of Mikko Rantanen or what, but for people that don't know, Mikko Rantanen was shockingly traded by Colorado to Carolina this season. Carolina then went on a losing streak and was not playing well. He didn't want to be there. They end up trading him at the deadline to Dallas. So he's going to face his old team in the first round, which is a nice little subplot. But now the Stars are playing terrible. So yeah. I don't know. It doesn't make much sense. He has put up some pretty good numbers since he's been in Dallas because he actually wants to be there. But no, I thought about a month ago that was the first round series to watch. So, but Dallas is leaking oil badly. They're not going to get their star defenseman Mikko Rantanen back for the start of the playoffs, which they were hoping for. So I can't pick that one. It's got to be Lightning Panthers.
Eddie, as I kind of look at some of the contenders, I like to look at what their flaws are and see how much they matter to me in their ability to go on and win the Stanley Cup. For Washington, I'm looking at finishing and goaltending. How much does the potential volatility of those two things for Washington in the playoffs concern you in their ability to make a run?
The goaltending situation does quite a bit. Logan Thompson, who is a possible Vezina Trophy finalist, has been hurt, didn't finish the year. They are hoping to have him for the start of the playoffs. Obviously I'm no doctor. I haven't examined him, but they do play tonight. Now, if he plays in that game, then I would expect him, if everything goes well, for him to start game 1. If he doesn't, then obviously he's not going to. I don't believe you're going to throw a guy in game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and when he hasn't played at all at the end of the season. So, they're playing a very scrappy Montreal team that no one thought would be here. They've been in playoff mode now for the past few weeks. They almost let it slip through their fingers, but they finally closed it out yesterday with the win. But they've got nothing to lose. So there's that. And also another key player for the Capitals, Alexei Protas, is also injured. So I think Washington will eventually win that series, but it's not when you look at a 1-versus-8 matchup, which this is, even in this NHL playoff format, that's what this is. It's a much closer matchup than that. But yeah, the Logan Thompson injury is very concerning for Washington.
So on the heels of that, I was going to ask you anyway, if you feel like the Caps are well-rounded enough to have another feel-good story with Ovi at this stage of his career already breaking the record, are they complete enough for you to have a run in them?
I think they are. I think they are. They are. Even though they made the playoffs last year, they're still one of the bigger surprises because they were the last team to make it in last year.
For sure.
First team to make it in this year, even though they didn't win the President's Trophy. But they made a ton of offseason moves that have all worked out, from Pierre-Luc Dubois to getting Jacob Chikrin. They've had some guys in their organization step up, Connor McMichael, Alexei Protas, that have had career years. So and Ovechkin, of course, has been, came back to form for him after a bit of an off year. So it's all worked out for them. Logan Thompson is another one, and they bring him in as a backup from Vegas, and he turns into a star goalie for them. So yeah, no, I think they're complete enough to go on a run if they can get the goaltending healthy.
Eddie, speaking of a couple things there that you mentioned, one, the President's Trophy, and two, goaltending, that leads me directly to the Winnipeg Jets, right? So are you more concerned about the President's Trophy curse with the Jets, or the fact that their guy Connor has been a little bit on the struggle bus, and I'm trying to be nice here, about his playoff goaltending the last couple of years?
I'm not concerned about the President's Trophy curse, because typically the issue with that is you've got a team that's probably like blown away the field and hasn't played any meaningful games for months. And then they get in a playoff matchup, and then they're playing a wild card team that's been fighting for their lives, right? And so it's hard to flip that switch. But I don't really get that sense with Winnipeg. I think that they understand that even though they've done some historical things this year, first ever division title, first ever President's Trophy, they know completely it doesn't mean anything if they don't get it done in the playoffs. And this is a team that has lost 4 of their last 5 playoff appearances in the first round. So and Connor Hellebuck, their goaltender, going to win the Vezina Trophy this year. Mm-hmm. He's won multiple Vezinas. It doesn't matter for him if he doesn't get it done in the playoffs. So at least they're very well aware of the fact that, as brutal as it might sound, their greatest regular season in their history means nothing if they don't have some playoff success. So I think that they are very much aware of their situation, very much aware that they have to get it done in the playoffs, or they're going to be completely dismissed, and everything they've accomplished this year, which is kind of sad to say, will be completely dismissed. So, they're taking on a Blues team that, like I said, they've been in playoff mode. They had a recent 12-game winning streak.
Yep.
This one also isn't exactly your typical 1-8 matchup. But in the end, I also think the Jets are gonna survive this.
Is there and I'm going to just ask about them specifically. Do you think Carolina has enough championship pedigree in them to kind of be there when it counts? Because I feel like, for as much as you can overlook a Carolina Hurricanes team, I do kind of feel like they're an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I mentioned Nico Rantanen earlier. They kind of went for it this year and tried to get a superstar player, a top 10 NHL player, to be the missing piece of what is a very good team. But they just don't have that horse. They don't have that one guy that can change a game with one play. Very hardworking team. They will definitely win their first round series against New Jersey. That would be one of the bigger upsets for me if the Devils win this series. So yeah, they'll make it out of the next round, but I don't know that they have enough to go on a deep playoff run. The goaltending there is also not great. It's okay. But no, I mean, I like their team. I like Rod Brind'Amour, their head coach. They've won every first round playoff matchup. They've been in 7 straight years under him, so they will get out of the first round. But I don't think that they have enough to go for a deep run.
Do you have a dark horse? I have
I
one.
do.
Okay, go ahead. Let me hear yours.
Well, I do, but I will let people know that, and I try not to be biased in this.
If you say the Kings, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm an LA Kings
Yeah,
fan,
I like
and
the Kings too.
I think the LA Kings are a dark horse because they have the goaltending and they have the defense. And if they can get enough offense, and if their power play is just okay, they could be a dark horse. They obviously have to slay the Dragon and the Oilers, who's beaten them 3 straight years in the playoffs.
Yep.
I think they're absolutely a better team than them. But the obviously for Edmonton, the 2 best players on the ice will be wearing the Oilers sweaters, and Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. But the Oilers are banged up. They are really banged up. Draisaitl's not 100%. The goaltending heavily favors the LA Kings. The Kings finally have home ice in this series, which they didn't have the first 3 meetings, and they have been a historically good team on home ice this year. They're 11-1 at home against the top 3 teams in each division. So they've beaten the best of the best on home ice consistently this year. And I also think the next round, they match up really well if it's Vegas. They won 3 of 4 against Vegas this year, and pretty convincingly. So, I could very much see them making the Western Conference Finals. They would have to probably match up against a really good Colorado team. I don't know if they can get past them or not, but to answer your question, I think the Kings are the dark horse.
And how about this? We've seen it in the NHL. We've seen an interim become a head coach, and all of a sudden they get it going. I mean, Hiller's done quietly. It's a fantastic job for how he got there.
I could not agree with you more, and I will completely admit I did not want them to remove the interim tag and give him. I mean, we will think about it. I mean, he did a good job when he took over last year for Tom McCollum. He did. But they also lost in the first round again.
But again, that was Edmonton.
It was.
In 5.
I thought they needed a different voice.
Yeah.
I just thought and this is a guy who's never been an NHL head coach before.
No.
But he's done a fantastic job. He won't win the Jack Adams Award for Coach of the Year, which is probably a good thing because those guys get fired in like 2 years every year. But he should be mentioned. He should get some votes. He really should. He's done a terrific job with the Kings.
All right, let me get you out of here on this. How much I feel like I ask you this every year, Eddie, for the last 5 years. More or less pressure in Toronto than normal?
Well, I would say more, believe it or not, just because of who they're playing.
Yeah.
It's the Battle of Ontario. They're taking on their little stepbrothers, the Ottawa Senators, who no one thought would be here. They've got nothing to lose, and all the pressure is on Toronto. I mean, it would be probably anyway, but even more so now. And the Senators swept them this year. They won all 3 matchups in the regular season, for what that's worth. Toronto has by far the better lineup on paper, but as always with the Leafs, goaltending is an issue. Anthony Stolarz and Joseph Wolf have had wonderful combined regular seasons, but they've never had this kind of pressure on them in the playoffs. They've combined in their careers for 4 playoff starts, and the scrutiny is going to be unbelievable. And the good news is that if one of them isn't very good, they could turn to the other guy, I guess. But no, the pressure is extremely high on Toronto. And again, they're going to take on a hungry Senators team that has the better goaltender in Linus Ullmark, and that's a guy you could see stealing a series. So yeah, it's the pressure is even more on the Maple Leafs than it has been recently, I think, because of this particular matchup.
All right, Eddie, let's get your Stanley Cup Finals matchup and pick. What do we got?
It's pretty chalky, but I'm going to go. But it is a team that could lose in the first round. I'm picking the Lightning out of the East.
Wow.
And I'm taking the Avalanche out of the West.
Stones to take a team that, you're right, very well may not get out of the first round. But I obviously Florida didn't play anybody in the last matchup, and I was telling our producer's brother is a huge Lightning fan, and I mean, could you believe the stat from Hagel where he's got 35 goals and not nary a one of them has come on the power play for the Lightning?
Yeah, man. Look, they've got
They can score.
4 players with 35 goals or more.
Yeah.
They may have the MVP of the league on their team in Nikita Kucherov, who won the Art Ross Trophy for the leading scorer. They have a multiple Vezina Trophy winner and Stanley Cup winning goalie in Andrei Vasilevsky. And their head coach maybe is the best head coach in the NHL in John Cooper. So they've got it all. It's just, can they survive the first round against, oh, by the way, the defending Stanley Cup champs who rested up all their players, gave away home ice advantage, didn't care about trying to win a division title and getting an easier path to the cup. They're like, we're going to rest our guys up and we're going to go for it again, and we're not afraid of anybody. So again, Lightning Panthers is going to be an absolute war in the first round.
McKinnon or Kucherov or bust for the MVP?
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to go Kucherov. Even though both guys have a lot of talent around them. But I don't know. I think McKinnon sitting out the last few games, kind of conceding the scoring title, might end up hurting him for the Hart Trophy. But also, look, it's also Connor Hellebuck. There's a strong push for him to win the MVP, and goalies don't win it that often, but he did have a very, very good year. So it'll be interesting to see if we get a goalie win the MVP this year.
That's our guy, Eddie Garcia, hosts NHL Game Night on the Locked On Podcast Network. Eddie, appreciate it as always, and enjoy the playoffs.
I will. You too. Thanks for having me on, guys. Always a pleasure.